Words can be veils. Words can be doorways into a deeper communion with life, into a deeper conversation with reality, into a deeper conversation with God. Conversation. The etymology of the word conversation comes from this deep meaning of living among, of being familiar with, even of being intimate with. And God has deep linguistic roots in the word the good. The good is the wholeness, the isness of life, the fundamental unity that expresses itself with infinite diversity. And so the conversation with God that we are in is a practice of deepening our familiarity and our intimacy with the good. It's a practice of listening and opening and connecting with the wholeness of life, both in its vastness and in its particularity, in its cosmic nature, which includes that intimate moment of this breath. Intimacy is a beautiful word for the relationship with reality that we're cultivating through our spiritual life. It implies a softening, an opening, even a dissolving, certainly of the hardened boundaries of identity. But how do we do that? The paradox, indeed, the grace and beauty of the spiritual life is that we dissolve these boundaries by becoming more intimate with them and the ways that the boundaries of our belief systems currently define that self-life relationship. Every boundary defines a relationship. And by becoming a student of the ways that we've been conditioned to create boundaries, we become more intimate with our habits of defendedness. We become more attuned to what pushes our buttons. We become more meditatively awake to the habits of defendedness and to the triggers, the redundant and familiar triggers that push the karmic buttons, revealing not what's wrong with them, not what's wrong with me, but the pattern of self-protection that has been practiced unconsciously for many lifetimes. What are those practices, or what are those patterns of defendedness? There are many ways to talk about them, but many mystics divide them into three essential categories: that of the quest for security and safety, absolute security and safety, the quest for undisturbed belonging and approval, the quest for ever-present power and control, safety, approval, control. These are all qualities of consciousness that, when integrated and consciously engaged, have their place in a beautiful life. But when unconsciously operative, when reactively driven, these kinds of patterns, not only do they fragment our own consciousness, but they cause suffering for ourselves and others. So to become more intimate with the good, with the wholeness and the grace of life, we're being called to become more intimate with how we defend and protect, so that we can have choice around boundaries that can flex open and appropriately close depending on the situation, depending on the place and the context and the level of awareness that we are engaging with. They're permeable, they're organic. Healthy boundaries allow us to open and take in and digest. They allow for a generative flow of grace and intelligence to flow out of us, to flow between us and life in ways that bring greater well-being to self and other, to this and that, in ways that bring flexibility to the dance with our life. As we befriend, that's the word, as we befriend our defendedness, its urgent, its unconscious impulsiveness to defend will soften. And at the same moment, literally at the same breath, the openness to the blessings of life blossom, and the capacity to receive the guidance of life that was previously veiled, hidden, or blocked is now palpably, clearly available. And that's the conversation that we're in. The conversation deepens, the intimacy ripens, and the defendedness dissolves, and the responsiveness grows.